Well, a family recently missed their cruise. Happens all the time, right? Happens all the time. People miss their cruise. But I have never really seen such a poorly planned cruise in my life. Like, what did they possibly think could go wrong? Exactly what went wrong. So a mother wanted to go on a cruise, a Royal Caribbean cruise with her family out of Orlando. They live in the New York area, and they were going to go with their two twins, their son who's about to go off to college, her mother, and it was her 50th birthday that they were celebrating. So it was going to be an 8-day cruise. Well, the whole thing started off really bad. First of all, let's see what happened. Well, they arrived at the airport, and due to a crewing issue, which quite frankly happens all the time, right? Another flight gets delayed. That crew is supposed to be on your flight to take your flight to the next destination, and they're out of their flying time. And now they have to find another crew. And so there's delays like that all the time. All the time. It's not always mechanical or weather. It can be just a matter of one thing happened at a completely other destination and it's delaying your flight because the crew's not there anymore. So that can happen all the time, just to be clear. Well, Delta Airline was having a crew issue, and it took an extra 2 hours. Well, even less than 2 hours, technically. So they were supposed to fly out of New York City at 9:54 in the morning, and instead they left at 11:40, which is under 2 hours. The flight was not even delayed 2 hours. Well, they were flying into Orlando. They were supposed to arrive at 12:51 on the same day of your cruise, 1 o'clock, and that's when you're landing. Oh, okay, I'm already thinking, what are you thinking? But instead they arrived around 2:40. Now the articles that I'm reading all say they arrived at 3:40, but if the first flight only took 3 hours, why would the second flight take 4 hours for the same distance? I don't understand that, but I think it's just a typo and somebody didn't do the calculations correctly. So I'm going to assume they arrived at 2:40. Well, if you know anything about cruising, cruise lines will say our sail away time, for instance, is 4 o'clock. Well, people have to be on board. If they're sailing out at 4 o'clock, they have to be on board and checked in and everything a full hour before that. There's a complete cutoff time because they have to hand in the manifest of every single, like the airplanes, they have to hand in a manifest of everybody who's on that ship to Customs and Border Patrol. So they need that hour. And if you arrive after that hour, you may not be allowed to get on the ship. And quite frankly, chances are you won't get on that ship. So even if they plan this properly, let's go through the timeline. They arrive at approximately 10 minutes to 1 o'clock at the Orlando airport. Well, it's not like Fort Lauderdale where the cruise port is 10 minutes away from the airport. It's a full 45-minute drive from Orlando airport to the cruise terminal. So if you arrive at 10 to 1, your flight sets down. Now, how long does it take you to get your luggage? There's 5 of you. How long does it take to get your baggage? Now, did everybody have a carry-on only? And you're going on an 8-day cruise? I don't think so. I don't think everybody only had carry-ons. So let's add a half hour onto that. Now it's 20 minutes after 1 o'clock. Now you have to get your transportation. Flag down a taxi, flag down an Uber, rent a car. Say that only took you 10 more minutes. That's now 1:30. 45 minutes, it's 2:15. With no traffic, You got to the cruise port. Another 10 to 15 minutes to park your car. It's now, what? Where was I at? I've lost track of the time already. So 1:30, 45 minutes, 2:15, another 15 minutes is 2:30. And if your cruise is leaving at 4 o'clock, that means at the best circumstances, you had to be on board by 3. Which means if you're parking your car and just taking the luggage out of your car, you have a half hour to get down through customs, through border, get your luggage checked in from the parking lot or wherever you're getting dropped off. The timeline that this family scheduled their trip was so tight that there was literally, the bags had to come off extremely fast. The flights had to be leaving exactly on time. There could be no delays whatsoever. They had to get a ride to the airport, to the cruise terminal, right when they get off the plane with no hesitation and no loss of time whatsoever. They planned this whole trip poorly. This is not the way to cruise. You do not get that tight in your travels. You're asking for trouble. Now, what's surprising to me in all of this was that Royal Caribbean refunded their money. Now, through all the articles and the stories, this was all done on ABC 7, which is, on your side with 7 is kind of their thing, where you can go to the channel and they will look into people who they feel have been, out money for no reason. They should have had their money back and all this kind of stuff. Now, they weren't going to them for Royal Caribbean money, because apparently Royal Caribbean gave them their money back. Now, the only possible reason I can see that Royal Caribbean doing that is if they had travel insurance. But nowhere in any article I've read did I see that they had travel insurance. So did Royal Caribbean give them their full $8,000 refund out of the goodness of their heart? And if they did, great for the family. Really dumb decision by Royal Caribbean, because that sets a precedent. So from now on, if my clients call me and say, I missed the flight, my flights were delayed and I missed, or I was in a car accident and I had missed the cruise, can I call Royal Caribbean and cite this as, hey, you gave them their refund. What makes this any different? You see what I mean? Like, it's a bad precedent to set. But they did go to this media outlet because Delta originally only gave them $250 e-credit instead of the $2,600 the flights cost them. Now, I'm not sure about Delta's regulations. I know there's certain things that you can claim depending on how long your flight was delayed, but a flight delayed under 2 hours to get full refunds, I know Air Canada wouldn't give it to me. I know WestJet wouldn't give it to me. So I'm not sure about American Airlines, but they were given $250 e-credits. So $1,250 air credits for the family instead of $2,600. But after the news media got involved, they were given their full $2,600 back. Now, if that's the policy, great. If that's not the policy and they did it because the news media got involved, bad decision again by the airline, because now you're setting a precedent. But I mean, quite frankly, this actually got on Reddit under r/cruise, and people were not kind in Reddit, and they never are. Let's put it that way. But every single person said, yeah, hey, why didn't you fly in the day before? This was really poor planned. Even if everything worked perfectly, you were giving yourself a window of about 30 minutes to make the cruise. That was the cost of a hotel for your family of 5, a Motel 6 someplace, a little $100 hotel someplace. Was it worth the possibility of you losing $2,600 in airfare and $8,500 for your cruise? And again, no mention of insurance that would have covered the cruise. and would have covered the flights. If you have, trip interruption. I don't know. I'm glad for the family. They seem like a very nice family. She seems really like a hardworking mom supporting her family, and everything looks great. Everything's great. But really, this was really poorly planned. Really, really poorly planned. And I think they need to watch a few more YouTube videos from people on what to do for your cruise. And they have now become what not to do for your cruise. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think they should have got their money back? Or hey, this was just, this was asking for trouble. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.